After snapping a 4-game losing skid, Syracuse men's basketball hits the road to take on number 14 North Carolina. Can the Orange go toe-to-toe with one of the top teams in the country in a place they've never won? But for the women, it's been all sunshine and rainbows. And speaking of which, Syracuse heads down to the Sunshine State for a bout with Miami. Can the Orange continue to strengthen their resume for March?
And Gino, it is a great time of year to be in the 315 because lacrosse season is here. SU men's squad is already back and rolling, and on the women's side, they've got the gauntlet of all gauntlets to begin the year against Maryland and UNC. That's the #1 team in the country. Let's go. Come on. How can you not be excited?
Oh, it's just riveting stuff. And speaking of riveting, our Caitlin McDonough sat down with our head coach for Syracuse ice hockey, Brittany Smith, to discuss the expectations and excitement going into the Olympic Games representing Team Canada. It's on the bench, and it starts right now. Boy, there is so much to talk about, and it is exciting stuff here in Syracuse. Thanks so much for tuning in here on the bench with Luke Burgess. I'm Gino Antimarino. As you can tell, we've got a lot to unpack. Syracuse men's lacrosse getting going. Syracuse women's lacrosse is about to get going, and some hoops action as well, Luke.
Yeah, lacrosse. That's what I'm most excited about, Gino. I'm thrilled. Spring season is back. Senior year for Joey Spallina and company. How can you not be excited? We don't have a ton of time, though, so let's get right into our headlines of the week. On Saturday, Syracuse men's basketball honored a legend, Lawrence Moten, who passed away unexpectedly. About a month before the start of the basketball season, he was memorialized by Jim Boeheim and much of Moten's family. SU's all-time leading scorer played with the Orange from 1991 to 95 and led the squad to a Sweet 16 run his junior year. Moten went on to be drafted by the Vancouver Grizzlies, where he would play several seasons before moving to play overseas. Moten was only 53 years old when he passed. Here's a listen back to what Boeheim had to say during Saturday's halftime ceremony against Notre Dame.
This is his family. You are his family. He loves Syracuse. He's one of the great players that have played at Syracuse. And I know right now he's up there rooting for Syracuse to win a game.
And you see the two guys who have made a huge impact at times, Gino, and that's really the key. J.J. Starling and Nate Kings, yes, they've been good. J.J. Starling, what he did in this first half was unbelievable. Yeah. 17 points on perfect shooting. Nate Kings has had his moments too, but neither of them have been perfect this year.
Yeah, final score 86-72 between Syracuse and Notre Dame, and it's because of those performances right there, Luke. The largest ACC win of the season. Now, the one thing that I'm a little upset about, J.J. Starling, like you said, put on a clinic in that first half. 17 points, 7 for 7 from the field.
Second half, not so good.
But in the second half, where did he go? Obviously, Kings took the baton, but I mean, you want to have guys that have solid first halves and solid second halves. Now, let that be a little bit of a nod to come when Syracuse takes on North Carolina. We'll go off of that. But Donnie Freeman came off the bench in this one for the second time this season. A little bit disappointing, 7 points in 22 minutes of action, Luke.
Yeah, throws him into a different role for sure. Certainly something that maybe he's not entirely ready for. Seemed like he was up for it when Coach Autry asked him about it. He said that he was gung-ho, ready to go and do whatever he needed to do to make the team win. Well, that didn't last very long, unfortunately. They didn't keep it going against UNC.
Yeah, Adrian Autry said it was a matchups thing. So, you know, we'll see if that keeps going in heading into Chapel Hill. Syracuse may have gotten the win over Notre Dame like we just talked about, but the task became a whole lot tougher over the weekend when SU, like I said, took the road to take on number 14 North Carolina inside the Dean Smith Center, a place the Orange have never won. All right, we head to the Dean Dome. UNC 12-0 at home this season. And right off the bat, you can tell why Caleb Wilson is a projected top 5 pick in this year's NBA draft. He just passed Tyler Hansbrough for most 20-point games by a rookie in program history, now up to 16. But on the other side for Syracuse, they also have someone that can get it done on the score sheet. Donnie Freeman, last time out, like we talked about, disappointing, but in that first half, 18 points for him, but he only finished with 23. So what I was talking about with Starling, a little bit disappointing there. Powell with a 3 there. UNC's lead grows, but Donnie Freeman taking a little bit of that momentum into halftime with a buzzer beater and the cold walk-off. Are you kidding me? Heading into halftime, though, the Tar Heels took that momentum right back. A nice block there from Kyle, but Vesar with the slam. Syracuse just got out-rebounded 41-31 in this game, courtesy of Vesar, who had his 17th double-double of the season, rather 12th double-double of the season. Then all of a sudden, Syracuse was down by 32 at one point in the second half, about midway through, but then the Orange, they started coming right back. At one point, this three-pointer right here made it a 7-point game for Syracuse, but UNC held on 87-77. Hudson Ridley with more about this matchup and how UNC came out with the win.
If you're not the better team, you're going to have to hustle to win. If you are the better team and you hustle, you'll have a result like Syracuse did tonight. 87-77, the Tar Heels over the Orange. North Carolina was dialed from the jump.
Carolina set the tone right from the beginning with their, just the physicality on defense, inside in the paint, scoring, and I just thought, our inability to get anything constantly going on offense was a big issue. They started switching everything, and again, we didn't make the ball move as we would like.
Autry thought that made the difference. His players, not so much.
I don't think they were super duper physical. I think they had their moments when they was going on their runs, and I just think they played really good together. And obviously Caleb Wilson, hell of an athlete, hell of a guy, my friend also. So seeing them out there, playing within his team and how they got their guys involved, I feel like we could take a little bit from that and we could kind of implement that to our guys.
The only player that really seemed like he could hang with UNC was Donnie Freeman. He had 18 points at the half, a terrific first 20 minutes. And then in the back half, things kind of fell apart. Where does Klein Anthony place that blame?
I can't answer that. I don't really know. I think coming out of halftime, I think Donnie should get if he has 18 in the first half, I think he should finish with 35, 40. But, he doesn't touch the ball in the second half. So that's not up to me, but, I don't really have an answer for that.
This is the first game of a tough February for Syracuse. Next up, it's a trip to Charlottesville to take on number 18 Virginia. That game is on Saturday. For now, in Chapel Hill, I'm Hudson Ridley, CitrusTV.
So, yeah, Syracuse was really out of this game, and then all of a sudden came back.
32-point lead for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, and it's pretty incredible given how great UNC has been. Syracuse has never won in the Dean Dome. Number 14 in the country, UNC is 12-0, now 13-0 at home. But the fact that Syracuse put on a little bit of a run in that second half, I get Syracuse fans, they want to win, but is it one of those things where it's glass half full or half empty, you could say?
Oh, it's half empty. The season's over. How could you be half full at this point? There's no chance of making the NCAA tournament. I understand.
But the talent's there. The talent's there.
That matters in November. It doesn't matter in February.
Sure, fair enough. But speaking of talent, Syracuse certainly has some talented players on its roster and some guys that are underperforming. Let's take a look at some of the efficiency numbers from Syracuse's roster. You can see there, Klein Anthony spoke a lot after the game against UNC, and obviously the efficiency numbers there, Luke, for him have not been great. Just the freshman, 4-star coming in, had a really good start to the season, but ever since ACC play and starting to come off the bench more, that when they started to get some guys back and Adrian Autry started figuring out his rotation, he's really taken a dip.
Yeah, Klein Anthony's out there saying, I don't know why Donnie Freeman isn't touching the ball in the second half. Why doesn't he do something when he touches the ball in the second half? He's playing almost 20 minutes a game. And he's less efficient than Bryce Zephyr, who's barely played in the ACC. And you bring in this guy as a 4-star recruit. And yes, freshmen are not necessarily supposed to produce at a high level. You see guys across the country like what DeBance's doing, like what a guy like Caleb Wilson's doing in UNC.
Sure.
The list goes on and on. Kingston Fleming's in Houston, who Syracuse saw earlier this year. These freshmen are incredible. They're standouts. But Klein Anthony has just had an awful freshman season. He has not been good. And you see the numbers right there to prove it. Don't really know if he's in the place to be saying much right now when he's the least efficient player on the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there is basketball being played in Syracuse that's been a little bit better. It's actually pretty hard to deny what an incredible year it's been for Syracuse women's basketball. Just over a week ago, they took on now-ranked UNC to overtime, and Sunday, the Orange made a trip to the Sunshine State for another conference clash against the Hurricanes, trying to build another little win streak after they lost that game against the Tar Heels in overtime. And the pressure's on, really. Syracuse has been playing great basketball, though. They had that triple overtime win against Cal, and one of the reasons why has been what Uche Azoje has done. She's been ACC Rookie of the Week more than anyone else in the conference. Unbelievable stuff from her. And the Orange scored the first 8 points of this game. Miami finally responds with a 3 from Kimson, but then on the other end, Layla Felia doing what she does and responding herself. 12-9, a low-scoring ball game at the end of the first quarter into the second quarter. And Kimson, who had a great game trying to keep Miami in this one, makes it a 2-point affair again. But as we get close to halftime, Dominique Darius fires back. Orange lead by 6. We'll go to the fourth quarter. And Sophie Burrows has really turned her season around. You got to give her a lot of credit. Now, 5 of her last 6 games with double-digit points. First 7 games of the year, she only had 1 game above 10, and it was 11. Now she's got 21 4 times in the last month. She has found her shot. You got to give the junior a lot of credit for what she has done, sticking to it. She was out of the starting lineup at one point, and now she's turned back into that 3-point shooter that Felicia Leggett-Jack really needed her to be. Anyway, this game down the stretch, getting close. A couple of layups to the basket, but Syracuse comes away with a 65-60 win. Another hugely impressive win against solid ACC competition. And, Gino, they do have a cupcake coming up in Boston College, who has not won a game in the ACC so far this season. So a nice little break because they've played some tough competition recently, but then they're going to come back to the Dome and play number 6 Louisville.
Yeah, but obviously if you talk to Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack, she treats, and the rest of her team, treat every game like it's, the championship in the NCAA. So it doesn't really matter who they're going up against. But the one player that I'm really impressed with, Layla Felia, came back from injury earlier this month after missing 10 days. She had 6 in her first game back against UNC, but since then 23 against Georgia Tech, 21 against Miami, also played 40 minutes against the Hurricanes, so she was certainly getting her cardio out there. But it's good to see that Felia is back into the form she was in before the injury.
Yeah, how can you not be impressed with her? I mean, she's been a great pickup for Felicia Leggett-Jack.
Yeah.
Completely changed the season around.
Yeah, a ton of great players on this Syracuse women's basketball team. A team looking to continue to finish this season out strong and even some postseason aspirations. So without further ado, we bring in our expert on Syracuse women's basketball, the beat reporter for Citrus TV, Milo Hoffman. Milo, thanks so much for joining us here in studio. Now listen, 7 games left in the season. Syracuse got Notre Dame on the road. They've got number 6 Louisville as well. You got NC State on the road, who's receiving votes. Of the 7 games remaining of this regular season, how do you think Syracuse fares?
Yeah, Gino, you talked about all those tough games, and it's true. Syracuse does have a couple gauntlets coming up towards the end of the season, but I also think Syracuse has a couple games that they should win, and honestly win pretty handily. And that all starts, you guys were talking about it before, with Boston College. Boston College comes in having lost 16 games in a row. Are you kidding me? They're winless in the conference, just 4 wins on the season. And good news for Syracuse, well, they play them twice. So Syracuse should take care of Boston College, not once, but twice. And then after Boston College, you play Pitt, another team that Syracuse should take down, the second worst team in the ACC, just a 1-9 record in conference play. And they lost to Duke by 60 points. Syracuse also lost to Duke, but not by 60. That's unbelievable. So Boston College, Pitt should be wins. And then one that could go either way, but I do have Syracuse winning, is NC State. A top 5 scoring offense in the ACC, but almost a bottom 5 scoring defense in the conference as well. So I think that Syracuse can take down the Wolfpack. That'll be a crucial game for the Cuse if they want chances of playing in the NCAA tournament and making a run in March Madness. So those are the 3 opponents that I have Syracuse taking down pretty easily. NC State going to be a tough one, though.
Yeah, I do see that you got 3 blanks there. 3 of the must-see TV games as well, Milo. Louisville, and then you got Clemson and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I mean, can you believe they're not ranked this season? That is crazy. But I'm no dummy. I know that means that you might have a mix-up in these results.
Yeah, Luke, I mean, these are the games that are going to decide SU's fate. Whether SU is going to play in March Madness, what their seeding is going to look like, and it all starts with number 6 Louisville. It's probably going to be the toughest matchup that SU has this season. I mean, they're the number 6 team in the nation for a reason, and they're one of the deepest teams in the entire country. 7 players average at least 8 points for the Cardinals. That means 2 players are coming off the bench and scoring almost double-digit points for Louisville. Just unbelievable stuff. The only ACC team to score over 80 points a game, too. So SU's defense is going to be challenged in this one. So I have SU losing to the Cardinals. So that's obviously one of the toughest games the Orange are going to have to deal with. There's a few others, though, that I have on my mind to round out Syracuse's schedule, and that's Clemson. Clemson's going to be a tough one, but I think Syracuse is going to take it against the Tigers. It's going to be a really close one, though. The best defense in the ACC, SU is going to have to go against under 60 points per game. But the Cuse take it in a low-scoring battle. I'll give you 62-54, the Orange. That one is going to be vital for tournament hopes. And then Notre Dame, you guys have been talking about it. Hannah Hidalgo, one of the best players in the entire nation. The #2 scorer in the country, over 25 points per game. She's going to score. You just have to deal with Notre Dame's supporting cast, and if you can halt them, I think SU has a chance to actually take this one out. Would be probably one of the biggest wins of the season. 77-73, SU takes it over Notre Dame in South Bend. SU's actually 4-1 on the road this season, so they're not too scared of playing away from the big loud house. Going to be a big game against Notre Dame, though. Yeah.
So let me get this straight. Milo, you have Syracuse winning 6 of the last 7?
Yeah. No joke intended, Gino. Come on.
Okay. Obviously, that's a terrific way to end the season for more than just on paper. But obviously, women's basketball last year, they fell in the first round of the ACC tournament to Boston College, so maybe a little bit of revenge here in the 2 games that they have left on the schedule. They fell in the NCAA tournament in the second round to UConn 2 years ago. How do you think Syracuse does in this postseason this year?
Listen, this is a new team. FLJ brought in players that are totally new, transfers, freshmen, and they're going to look different come tournament play. I have Syracuse making the ACC tournament semifinals. That's right. Right now they're tied for the 3rd best record in the conference. It's going to take a lot, but I think SU can get it done. They're not a team. They're a family, and that's what's going to take you to high marks in the ACC tournament. So the semifinals in the ACC tournament, now come the big dance, right now slated to be the 8th seed. I have them going to the Sweet 16. How about it? A little run for the Orange. They're going to do well come tournament play and get back to the big dance for the first time in 2 years.
Milo, thank you. Great stuff. Great work. And, of course, the Orange on the basketball court hoping to get back to the tournament. There's no hopes for Syracuse men's lacrosse. It is a guarantee that the Orange are going to be playing in May, hopefully on Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk about Syracuse Mille Lacs when we come back.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
It is spring. There's still snow on the ground. They're saying that we should push the lacrosse season back. I'm against that. The best lacrosse is played in the J.M.A. Wireless Dome. By the way, did you see that tweet that Paul Carcaterra had where he was like, we should play like neutral site games?
Yeah.
That would be crazy if they brought everyone to the Dome. I think the other one was like Ford Field in Detroit where the Lions play. Regardless, it's an exciting time to be a sports fan because Syracuse men's lacrosse, they're on the hunt for a national championship. And you can't get there if you don't play the game. And they were 1 win away from playing for a national title a season ago. They lost to Maryland. Now in the senior seasons for Joey Spallina, Michael Leo, and co., there's one last shot to hang a banner in the Dome for that class. Syracuse has opened with some cupcakes in years past, but not this season. Number 17, Boston University, and SU squaring up in the Dome, and the Terriers, will they all bark or all bite? I don't know which one you're supposed to be. I think you're supposed to be bite. Early on, though, the Orange offense was biting hard. Well, maybe it was really the BU defense on Luke Roa, who's got an absolute cannon of a shot, but he goes down low through the legs of Connor Phillips. And BU was just stymied all day, but not in the first quarter, really. Peyton Forte does a nice job to get the second goal of the game. He was an impressive sight to see. You were expecting a guy like Timothy Shanahan to take over, the guy who was the best freshman in all of college lacrosse last season. But no, it was Forte, the current freshman, who did really well. And Peyton Anderson going to work. This looks like a classic Bear goal from last season. He was such a big factor on the man up, and he takes it out of the corner and just scores, bullies his man all the way through. Syracuse leads 5-3, and then as the buzzer expires, tic-tac-toe passing, Wyatt Hoddle finishes it off on the back door with the dunk. 5-7, but he is getting up there. Look, gets up again after that. That's actually Peyton Anderson. Into the third quarter. And Joey Spallina, you knew you weren't going to hold him quiet for long. Just an absolute sidewinder snipe. That was far from the most impressive play that he had in this game, but 22 is on a mission. There's no doubt about that. The Orange now extending that lead, and they do it again here. 9-4 on another Luke Roa goal, his second of the game. Tyler McCarthy with a beauty of an assist. Couldn't hold Timothy Shanahan completely quiet, though. He does net one. That's not really going to mean too much, though. Syracuse up 11-6. Joey Spallina wants to get involved one more time to seal this one off, and more importantly, to pick up the hat trick in game one. People say that he doesn't play against these lower tier teams. Well, he had 5 points in this one. This is a pretty good team. Joey Spallina with 5 points in the game, and the Orange with a win to start the season 13-6. And we had our Drew Albaugh in the Dome to break it all down.
4 years ago, Syracuse men's lacrosse brought in what was widely regarded as the best recruiting class in school history. Fast forward to now, and that same star-studded class, now seniors, was the driving force in number 3 SU's 13-6 victory over number 17 Boston University. The Orange finished with 5 multi-goal scorers, 4 of those being seniors. The veteran depth is the difference between this team and the ones previous.
I think that's your question about winning a national championship or competing. They have a lot of options, so you take one thing away and you try to focus on that, and the next thing you know, and you're trying not to go to everybody, and it can be challenging. So, certainly they have a lot of options.
And talk about veteran depth. SU head coach Gary Gates started 6 seniors, none more prominent than, of course, attackman Joey Spallina. The Tewaaraton Award favorite finished with 3 goals and 5 points, both team highs.
Playing with Spallina for 2 years now, he draws the attention of most defenses, or every defense. They got to know where he is at all times, and for myself and other kids on the team, moving off ball and just being aware of where Joey is crucial.
Spallina, the seniors, and the rest of Syracuse is right back at it on Saturday at noon against St. Joseph's. Believe it or not, it's the first ever time the Hawks and the Orange have faced off. Reporting from the JMA Wireless Dome, I'm Drew Albaugh, CitrusTV.
Drew, great work from the Dome. Syracuse off to a 1-0 start. And of course, the gauntlet is there. The Orange really are challenging themselves with this season that's coming up here.
Yeah, Syracuse, it's bread and butter from last year and now even into this year. Those third quarters, the Orange outscored the Terriers 6-0 in the third quarter. Last season, in 19 games, that's regular season and postseason, Syracuse outscored its opponents in the third quarter 10 times. That's the bread and butter that Syracuse loves to work. They love to come out of the break and set the tempo in that second half. And I think the Orange are going to be just where they left off last season.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit tougher for them to score, though, this season because they are missing Trey Deer for the entirety of the year after he was injured in a car crash. He's out for the season. And our Jake Klein has more on the situation for Syracuse's offense.
After Syracuse men's lacrosse made a run to championship weekend last year, the Orange lost leading goal scorer Owen Hiltz to graduation. But their plan was clear. Junior lefty attackman Trey Deer would step into that void. Last season, Deer tallied 19 goals, including a team-high 7 on the man up. But in December, Syracuse got devastating news.
I think, I think it's out there that Trey was in an accident and that he's a lower body injury and he's going to be out for the year. We've been preparing to fill that position since Owen Hiltz left last year, and you'll see kind of what we do come first game of the year.
And while his coaches reimagined how to fill the Hiltz-size hole in the attack, Deer was away from the team.
But today, Deer was back here on the SU sideline to take in the win over Boston University, and to his teammates, that made all the difference.
You got here this week, and having him here has been super healing and good for this whole team. just seeing him, perspective he gives and everything, and obviously we had a game today, but obviously life's a whole bigger picture and everything like that. So super happy to have him here and super blessed that he's doing well, and just looking forward to spending some time with him for sure.
Obviously, Trey not being able to play, is going to hurt us, but that's the way sports are. It's just the next man up kind of thing, and I know we're going to have his back and do what we have to do.
But Deer's return to the sidelines didn't help Syracuse fix its problems on the field. What did? The Orange's depth. SU relied heavily on its midfield core in the win over BU, and in Deer's spot at attack, sophomore Peyton Anderson got the start. Anderson saw limited minutes and made 4 starts last season, but responded with 3 points in the victory over the Terriers.
And with 5 different multi-goal scorers in the win over BU, the Orange picked up right where Deer left off. Jake Klein, CitrusTV.
Yeah, well, as you heard Jake mention, it's going to be a team effort to try and replace the production that Trey Deer was bringing in. You see some of the names that might make an impact. One of the guys that really stood out to me, Gino, Jaden Kittleberger, he was fantastic in game 1 as a freshman, playing significant time.
Yeah, and we've seen last year, and even all the years that Coach Gary Gait has been at the helm, he loves to throw in freshmen when they are ready, right? And so there's not really a timetable for the development. If you're ready to play, Coach Gary Gait has no issues putting you in.
That opener still on the horizon for Syracuse women's lacrosse. We've got Ryan Croke in studio to break down everything that's going on with a new team and with a new coach.
Absolutely, Luke. Here with the dashing Ryan Croke, the beat reporter this year for Syracuse women's lacrosse. Make sure you follow him on social media and on CitrusTV.com. He's going to be posting a bunch of articles and pieces there, so make sure you tune into that. All right, let's dive right into this women's lacrosse team. New head coach at the helm, Reggie Thorpe, who is a Central New York guy, born in Auburn, coached with Syracuse for 9 seasons with Gary Gait for this women's lacrosse team, played for Syracuse, and now he's back. He gets the reins as the head coach. Now, obviously, with a lot of kind of turmoil, you can say, with the head coach, what are you most excited for this season with a new head coach?
Well, first of all, thanks for the plug, Gino. Really appreciate it. For Reggie Thorpe, this guy's been around the block. You said it. He's not your average first-time collegiate head coach. He's coming in with a lot of experience. And he's also getting a very talented roster that was talented a season ago, didn't really live up to expectations, but they were pretty young. They're only getting better. They're only getting older now, and they're ready to make some noise against some top teams. They've got a loaded schedule coming up as well.
And what is the biggest question mark with Syracuse? Obviously, with the new head coach, a lot of players changing out of the program, a lot of players coming into the program, 11 new faces on the Syracuse roster. With that much turnover, what's the biggest question mark for Syracuse heading into this year?
Well, it's an easy one. Who's going to replace Emma Ward, your all-time assist leader in program history, graduated after last season, and now there's a massive void to fill for this team. And Reggie Thorpe has said in both media availabilities before this season opener, Gino, that it's going to be a committee system. And I like the thought, but long-term solution, I think you're going to want to find someone who can be that designated facilitator. Not necessarily to the caliber of Emma Ward. It's going to be nearly impossible to find someone at that level. But having anybody who can sort of step in and be the primary passer is going to be huge.
So you lose Emma Ward, obviously one of the, if not the best player on Syracuse last season. You got a new head coach. It seems like with Syracuse, all this change. Number 11 in the preseason ranking is right around where they should be at, right?
Yes, absolutely. First-year head coach, you lose, again, one of the best players in program history in Emma Ward. There are some questions that have to be answered. But this is a team that can definitely improve that ranking, and I look at the schedule as the primary reason. You play 16 regular season games, 10 of those are against teams that are coming into the year ranked. You play all 3 of the top 3 teams in the country in the preseason poll, and 4 of the top 5, and 3 of those games are on the road. So yes, you can look at that one way and say, brutal schedule, I don't know if they're up to the task. But they have the talent, they have a guy who's experienced, and yes, it's year 1, but I think they're going to make some noise, take down some of those teams, maybe on the road, maybe some of those top 5 teams, we'll see. But the ceiling is as high as they want it to be. And I think that they can definitely raise that ranking.
I love it. So Syracuse has a lot to look forward to, and Syracuse fans have a lot to look forward to. And to make sure you're following all things Syracuse women's lacrosse, make sure you tune into this guy right here, at @RyanCroke_ on Twitter for all of the updates throughout the season and articles. Go to CitrusTV.com. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, we'll take another break, but when we come back, speaking of stellar work from our beat reporters, Caitlin McDonough sat down with head coach for Syracuse ice hockey, Brittany Smith, on her going to Team Canada in the Olympics to coach. You won't want to miss it. Stick around on the bench.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
We're going international here on The Bench with Luke Burgess. I'm Gino Antimarino. We talked men's and women's basketball. We talked men's and women's lacrosse. Now it's time to dive into some ice hockey with the Winter Games coming right around the corner here in Italy. Head coach for Syracuse, Brittany Smith, she got the call to be one of the assistant coaches for Team Canada this Olympics. Luke, some pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what an honor for Brittany Smith. And she's been involved in the international level with Team Canada multiple times beforehand, but this is really a step up for her and you know, represents Syracuse University really well. So that's pretty cool stuff. And of course, you know, the games in Milan, pretty exciting on the men's side with the NHL players coming back into the fold for the Olympic Games. There's a lot to look forward to in Milan.
Caitlin McDonough, our beat reporter here at CitrusTV, exclusive interview with Brittany Smith on the expectations and the excitement level going into these Olympic Games.
A small percentage of people will ever achieve their goals. What started as an ambition slowly developed into reality for Brittany Smith. So when the Olympics called, she simply had to pick up.
In Canada, hockey's a pretty big piece of, you know, what I've grown up knowing to be something that is so Canadian, and to be able to represent Canada at the Olympic level is honestly a dream come true, and something that definitely not taken for granted.
Smith is set to fulfill her dream as an assistant coach for Team Canada at the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. That dream started far from bright lights in international arenas. It began in her hometown of Port Parry, Ontario.
I grew up on a farm. We had a pond, so that was kind of my first taste of it, was just getting on the pond real young, learning how to skate.
From there, a lifelong love of the game was born. But coaching, that was never part of the plan.
Actually never planned to become a coach. Was going to school with the, you know, the plan to get into grad school for PT, physiotherapy. So I was actually going back to the University of Toronto and taking some graduate level classes to help with my application. And the coach there, Vicky Sanahara, she just asked if I would want to help out with the team. So I helped out the first year on more of a part-time basis. I was still playing at that time and absolutely loved it. And then in year two, kind of switched the roles where I was actually coaching more full-time and playing more part-time. And then the following year was my first year in the NCAA, you know, really deciding that coaching is the direction I wanted to go. And yeah, obviously made the right decision. I feel like I've kind of found my calling.
A calling that ultimately led her here. Kennedy Ice Pavilion in Syracuse, New York, becoming just the second head coach in program history. A big step up from her previous job, but nonetheless one that forced her out of her comfort zone.
You know, Syracuse has been a place of massive growth for me in my own career, and you know, a place that luckily I've been supported in that growth.
As she prepares to represent her country, Smith leans on the same values she's built in the 315.
You know, at Syracuse, one of the things we talk about a lot in our culture is humility, and that's being a part of something bigger than yourself. And you know, being a part of Hockey Canada is certainly that, but on an even larger scale, being a part of the Olympics, you know, being able to represent your country amongst a number of other countries and athletes and staff who have put in just as much time.
Regardless of what happens in Italy, Smith hopes the people back home take away one thing.
You know, I think it's showing them that this has been a goal of mine, and I have reached it, and, you know, those things are possible to continue to develop no matter what stage of your career you're in. And, you know, if there's one thing that I hope players and staff see is the dedication that I've put into both programs this year and the care I have for both.
From a frozen pond to the Olympic stage, Brittany Smith is living a dream years in the making. Caitlin McDonough, CitrusTV.
There's the upcoming schedule for Team Canada. Excellent work from Caitlin McDonough as always, and some pretty exciting stuff. Obviously, anytime Syracuse can be represented on a global level, always cool. Now, Coach Smith, Luke, always talked about with her players, whether it was recruiting or whatever the case may be, the more opportunities you can get to go abroad and play and see the different playing styles, you should absolutely take that chance.
Yeah, it helps you with your coaching, I'm sure. And you see that's not an easy slate that they've got. Finland, Czechia, and the U.S., all really elite level teams. And of course, Team Canada, they're always going to be good as well. But
right.
The U.S. has churned out some phenomenal women's teams. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough challenge, but it sounds like one that Brittany's up to. And shout out to Caitlin as well for being out there in the snow. You would not catch me shooting a package.
Well, she's the
out
ice
front
hockey
in
beat
the snow.
reporter. You got to deal with the cold all the time.
I was once too. That doesn't mean that it's any fun to be out in the cold trying to talk on camera. We've still got more coming up on the bench. We're going to tell you our performers of the week and go through our plays of the week as well as we wind down. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a short break.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Wrapping up shop here on the bench with Luke Burgess. I'm Gino Antimarino. Ton of sports that we got into today. It's a fun time here in Syracuse and at the collegiate level all around with basketball, lacrosse, ice hockey too, the Olympic Games coming up. So much fun to look forward to if you're a sports fan. So without further ado, it's time to get into our performers of the week.
Yeah, we start with number 5 and we go to the basketball court for that. A guy we talked about a little bit earlier on, J.J. Starling, and the main reason why, that first half against Notre Dame, because I'll be completely honest, he couldn't be higher up the list because the rest of his games were a little bit disappointing. But the overall numbers, because he shot 7 for 7 in one half of basketball, look pretty good. Hasn't been phenomenal defensively, but he kept Syracuse in that game, and he is a big reason why they got that win, one of their bigger wins all season long. J.J. Starling is Performer of the Week, number 5.
Yeah, J.J. Starling for sure. A little bit streaky at times, but when he's on, he's really on. And, obviously we talked about that second half against Notre Dame where he kind of disappeared. And then in UNC in that first half had just a couple of points to start off things, but then in the second half really started to clean things up. All right, let's get into Performer number 4 here of the week. And for that, we head to the lacrosse field. It's Wyatt Hoddle, the junior midfielder, in the season opener against BU. What a way
What a pretty goal
to open up the year for him. A career high 3 points, 2 goals, and an assist. Look at that ball movement and that step down shot. Just unreal.
Wyatt Hoddle, that feed from Peyton Anderson is a beauty. The chemistry you have to know when to do that with a second left and not let the time expire. Pretty unreal stuff. Back to the basketball court, though, for our number 3 performer of the week, Nate Kings, who just set a Division I career high. Now, he did have 30 points when he was playing at the D2 level, but wow, another great game. And, I said that J.J. Starling kept them in the game. Nate Kings won them the game, and then he had a much better game against UNC as well. Nate Kings in ACC play has been, I think, for my money, the best defensive player on the team.
Fair.
He hustles harder than anyone. When he came into the program, the notion around him was that he's great offensively, going to shoot the 3-ball lights out, which he has as the season's gone on, but he's not going to be a liability defensively. He'll be average. I think he's been pretty phenomenal, an ACC player. I really like the way he hustles.
5 for 10 from beyond the arc against Notre Dame, not too shabby, but also like Starling, just a little bit streaky at
50%
times.
or better in 3 straight games from downtown. So he started to find his stroke.
Absolutely. Syracuse obviously needs to get a little bit of consistency there, but a team
Maybe
that doesn't really need any more consistency. We head to women's basketball. Number 2 performer of the week, Layla Filia. I hyped her up earlier in the show. Coming back from injury a few weeks ago in the month of January, missed 10 days, and then in her first game back had 6 points, but since then, 21, 22, 44 total points, 5 steals. She was getting it done, and she also draws that contact and gets sent to the line a bunch, and that's how she makes up a ton of her points. But Layla Filia is someone that Syracuse is really going to have to rely on down the stretch, especially into the postseason play, as Milo Hoffman was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, she's revolutionized what that team can do offensively. A really good shooter to add into the fold, and a guy who's been shooting the lights out on the lacrosse field for years. You already know who player number 1 is going to be. I'm tired of the slander. This is Joey Spallina's year for the Tewaaraton, and he is our number 1 player of the week. 5 points against Boston University, and a quiet 5 points. And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but maybe the best assist all season in lacrosse that you're going to see. An absolute dime feed to Peyton Anderson. He has been unbelievable and off to a great start this season. But we've got more coming up now with our top plays.
Oh, let's dive right into those. We start at number 5, and we head back to the lacrosse field. Peyton Anderson, look at this. Look at that stutter step and the burst of speed, Bobby Orr style.
Great score.
Tucks it in.
There.
Listen.
Look at the screen.
That was beautiful. That's why they call him Bear.
5'7" out there. Or actually, that's Tyler McCarthy, but he's 5'9".
Listen, that's why they call him Bear. The strength and the speed, you don't want to go up against him one-on-one. I wouldn't want to go up against a Bear, Luke.
No, definitely not, especially if you're in the woods all by yourself. Another guy you certainly wouldn't want to run into in a dark alleyway, William Kyle, because he can throw it down with the best of them in the country. Syracuse can't really score the basketball much at all, but William Kyle can throw down some ferocious dunks, and this certainly one of them. What was that, to make it a 30-point game against UNC?
No, that's when they were coming back a little bit, and someone that was really carrying the load against UNC, it was Donnie Freeman. Now look at this, a buzzer beater at the half, but here's the best part, Luke. He just walks off. Business as usual for Donnie Freeman. 18 points in that first half, capped off with this 3-pointer, guarded by Caleb Wilson. How you doing?
Well, this does a lot of work for our producers because you're going to see this play pretty much every single week. John Mullen wins the face-off, burns everyone right down Main Street, scores. I mean, he did that a ton of times last season, but yeah, off to a great start. John Mullen, one of the best players in lacrosse all week long. I mean, he just dominated at DX.
Beast.
That guy is in the gym at like 1:30 in the morning. I was his neighbor one time.
Oh, really?
Sophomore year, yeah, I lived right next to him.
And you were stalking him a little bit?
Oh, no.
Okay.
He looked like he might be stalking me. He's wearing those all-black sweats. He's a scary-looking guy.
I would be scared of him for sure. Now we head back to the lacrosse field. Joey Spallina, you talked about him. You hyped him up. Look at that pass. Now, I know what you're saying. On first look, that's the number 1 play of the week. I understand it. But watch the slow motion. Joey Spallina, snake eyes. How does he see Anderson open?
God.
Zipper of a pass, and Anderson seals the deal. That's the number 1 play of the week. So Joey Spallina and men's lacrosse, all around, just an absolute great start to the season.
I'm telling you, that is one of the best passes you'll see in lacrosse all season long. Include the PLL in that, I don't care. Crazy stuff. Joey Spallina is an absolute monster.
Absolutely. A lot of great things here on campus. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have here on the bench. For the producers here, Luke Burgess, my good partner, I'm Gino Antimarino. It's time to get into our images of the week.